The 1-hour truth, a global telepathy apocalypse. The shift happened with the morning news cycle. At 7 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Across every time zone, the internal monologue of every person on Earth ceased to be private. It wasn't a voice in your head, but a sudden, overwhelming torrent of raw, unfiltered thought belonging to everyone around you. Dr. Lena Hansen, a cognitive linguist making coffee in Brooklyn, didn't hear a sound. She simply felt the crushing, collective weight of 7 billion concurrent anxieties, desires, and judgments. It was like standing on a busy street corner, but every passing stranger was screaming their deepest shame directly into her consciousness. The phenomenon lasted exactly 60 minutes. It became known simply as the hour. The first 5 minutes were pure chaos. Global stock markets, driven entirely by irrational fear and greed, collapsed instantly. People learned which colleague was plotting to sabotage them, which neighbor hated their dog, and which spouse was thinking about an old flame. The world was paralyzed by its own brutal honesty. The most immediate, visible consequence was the gridlock. Traffic stalled as drivers, overwhelmed by the aggression and homicidal flashes of rage from others, simply abandoned their cars. Hospitals descended into pandemonium as doctors, now privy to the painful, unspoken desperation of every patient, suffered acute emotional paralysis. In Washington, D.C., political systems fractured under the realization that every publicly stated belief had an ugly, self-serving counterthought. Trust, the foundation of human civilization, evaporated. By minute 20, the chaos gave way to chilling stillness. People learned to retreat, to build mental fortresses. The key to survival was simple: think nothing. Millions focused desperately on neutral, repetitive thoughts, reciting multiplication tables, humming forgotten pop songs, or simply staring at a single spot, trying to achieve a cognitive vacuum. This collective mental silence was far more unnerving than the noise, an acknowledgement that the truth was simply too destructive to bear. This mass internal retreat allowed small pockets of communication to form. Those rare individuals whose inner thoughts were genuinely kind or constructive found each other, exchanging terrified, silent pleas for help. But these beacons were rare and quickly overwhelmed by the prevailing psychic toxicity. Minute 40 brought the first strategic uses of the hour. Spies and intelligence agencies, recognizing the unprecedented value of the silent, truthful data, tried to operate, but their handlers were also compromised. The only successful operations were those focusing on pure data retrieval, unlocking accounts, finding hidden documents, where the thoughts of the human gatekeeper revealed the final, necessary key. In London, a financial analyst successfully drained several rival hedge funds, his mind fixed only on the sequence of binary code. The hour wasn't just about feelings, it was about exposing passwords, vulnerabilities, and secrets with surgical precision. By minute 55, a chilling pattern began to emerge behind the noise. Dr. Hansen, who had spent the entire hour focusing on the rhythmic counting of her heartbeat, started noticing a consistent, low-frequency signal buried deep within the background noise of the collective human mind. It wasn't a human thought, it was a pure informational stream, almost like data packets being transmitted through the human consciousness. Using the moment of global telepathy as a bandwidth boost, it was a language without emotion, focused entirely on logistics, coordinates, and resources, a global census of infrastructure and potential military vulnerabilities. The hour ended as abruptly as it began. 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Silence. The sudden return to internal solitude was deafening, terrifyingly lonely. The world was fundamentally broken, reeling from the raw, ugly truth of its own collective mind. Global leadership immediately instituted cover stories, a mass psychological event, a shared temporal delusion, but everyone knew the truth. Societies went into freefall, the divorce rate soared, political parties imploded, and paranoia became the dominant cultural currency. The twist: decades later, humanity had adapted. Societies became highly compartmentalized. People wore mind-dampening headsets in public, designed to promote only white noise. Children were raised to be masters of the inner void, taught from birth to think nothing of consequence. The official explanation of a natural psychological phenomenon held sway, though trust never returned. Dr. Hansen, now a recluse, finally isolated and decoded the persistent, non-human signal she had detected during the hour. It wasn't a census for invasion, as she had initially feared. It was a global firmware update. The signal contained the complete architectural blueprint for a flawless, Decentralized global communication network, a technology that would immediately solve climate data logging, global energy distribution, and logistics management with zero waste. It was the key to utopian efficiency. The truth she uncovered was this: the 1-hour telepathy was not the primary event, it was the side effect of a mandatory diagnostic scan. An unknown, benevolent system, which had been quietly managing Earth's core infrastructure for millennia, knew humanity was rapidly approaching the point of self-destruction due to its primitive, emotional, and decentralized systems. To install the necessary, life-saving technological update, the system needed 60 minutes of peak global brain activity, a moment of maximum psychic synchronization, to use the collective human consciousness as a massive, temporary neural superprocessor. The torrent of ugly truth, the shattered relationships, the global chaos, it was all just noise. The system's harmless equivalent of a computer fan whirring loudly during a crucial boot-up sequence. The system didn't care about who hated whom. It only cared about stabilizing the planetary thermodynamic output. The price of 1 hour of brutal, psychological honesty was the accidental, yet necessary, price for securing the long-term survival of the species. Humanity didn't nearly destroy itself during the hour. It was unknowingly rebooting into a sustainable future, courtesy of a galactic IT department that viewed human emotions as mere processing heat. The ultimate truth was that the chaos was irrelevant. Only the code mattered.